Dear brothers and sisters, this is Tunia speaking. I love you very much. Here are 7 emotional blind spots that people may have. 1. Repression and numbing. Here, people do not feel their emotions at all. They repress them. This is the person who distracts themselves from their feelings. They might intellectualize excessively, or keep themselves very busy, whether with work or fun external activities, or use food, drugs, or television to numb their feelings, or focus on how bad/backward other people are, possibly with some false intellectual, moral, or spiritual justification. This is the person who rationally and perfectly understands why their childhood was painful, but has never stopped to deeply feel their own pain and loneliness, letting them fully in. This person thinks they have processed their pain because they understand it rationally, but in reality, they are still emotionally repressed. Those who repress their emotions might disguise this attitude as a form of stoicism. However, true Stoics feel their emotions first, something that pseudo-Stoic emotion repressors do not do. 2. Flat surface skating. Here, people perceive their emotions, but only the most superficial layer. They do not ask themselves, observe, or investigate what lies beneath. This is the person who wants to buy a sports car but cannot see the underlying need to be loved and appreciated. That said, sometimes there is no underlying psychological wound, and the desire for a sports car is simply the desire for a sports car. This is the person who thinks their emotional problems will be, largely, solved by moving to a new place, without having a clear fact-based reason. I want to live with my partner, I found a great job in that city, etc. This is the person who feels anger but cannot see their own fear or pain lurking beneath it. This is the person who overreacts and cannot understand that the cause lies in unresolved past pain. This is a person who experiences deep emotional pain, may have undergone therapy and read self-help books, but still cannot identify its root cause. Simply by asking yourself what lies beneath the emotions you feel, you might reach a deeper layer. It is not reasonable to expect to feel/observe/always be aware of this deeper layer, but it is useful to have a process that allows you to get to the heart of the matter, perhaps by seeing a psychologist, or by cultivating the habit of observing and asking yourself what hides behind what you feel, etc. Alternatively, a person may only see the surface of others' flaws and mistakes, while ignoring their own. This person might believe they are morally upright and emotionally intelligent because they can spot flaws in others, when in reality, they might be mistreating others without even realizing it. If you read the previous paragraph and thought about how it applied to others, without even stopping to reflect on whether it might also apply to you, then it very likely does apply to you. Conversely, a good sign that you are not flat surface skating is your willingness to admit mistakes and flaws in yourself. But even here, there is a trap. You admit a small flaw to feel virtuous and introspective, while refusing to face a large, painful, socially unacceptable flaw. And again, if you immediately thought of how others admit small mistakes while refusing to see larger ones, and if you did not pause for a moment to reflect on whether this also applies to you, then it very well might apply to you. 3. Thinking emotions are proof. Here, people think that the things they emotionally resonate with are true and good, and that the things they do not emotionally resonate with are false and bad. And sure, sometimes that is the case, but other times people's emotions simply reflect their biases, their selfishness, and their current worldview, rather than an enlightened perspective. One must listen to emotions. They are useful data. Without emotions, you are half blind. However, emotions can still be heavily influenced by biases. You should not blindly believe that your emotions indicate truth or morality. People know that saying, "I emotionally like it, therefore it is true/good" sounds foolish. So, often unconsciously, they use their rational mind to create an excuse. They cite a source that agrees with them, or refer to some moral principle, or say it resonates within me. But if you thoroughly analyze the arguments, you will find that they ignore equally valid sources that disagree with them, or they apply that moral principle only when it benefits them, or they do not have the level of spiritual/moral development necessary for a statement like "it resonates with me" to become a convincing argument. Another variant of this error occurs when a person, hearing something that makes them feel bad, labels the speaker as bad/evil/wrong/bias/emotionally distorted/insert negative label/someone who needs to apologize. Or it is the person who hears something that makes them feel good, even if only because it confirms their current worldview, and for that reason labels the speaker as moral/virtuous/spiritually evolved/intelligent/wise/etc. This emotional blind spot contributes to many people thinking that everyone belonging to their political side is moral and intelligent, while everyone belonging to the other side is stupid, brainwashed, selfish, or evil. This bias of, my emotions are proof, can be aggravated if the person is in a group with others who think like them and share the same bias. That way, there is always someone emotionally validating their belief that they are a good person and that the outsider is an evil person, even when the outsider is actually right. Alternatively, this could be a person who starts dating someone else, feels over the moon during the initial phase of the relationship, and seriously begins making plans for marriage or buying a house with someone they barely know. Or they declare the other person to be their soulmate. After all, they feel great right now, so that proves their partner is wonderful/perfectly compatible, right? And then, if the partner disappoints them, they might go from let's buy a house together to I'm leaving you in an incredibly short time. Because at that moment, the partner makes them feel bad, and that proves the partner is bad, right? Alternatively, this is the person who feels anxious at the idea of starting a challenging, scary project and interprets this emotion as proof that they should not start yet, which might lead them to never start. For defining your identity through temporary emotions here, people think that the emotion they feel at any given moment defines who they are. This is the person who, after a setback, or even just physical exhaustion, and the resulting negative emotions, thinks they are incapable, inherently bad at that thing, or a failure destined to fail. Instead of realizing that most successful people have failed multiple times, and that even skills that do not come naturally can be learned. This is the person who, feeling anxiety, thinks I am inherently a weak, anxious person, and I will always be anxious, rather than thinking in a healthier way, I am feeling anxiety right now, or even, there is anxiety. Do not believe everything you think, and do not believe everything you feel. Or at least, do not believe that fleeting thoughts or emotions automatically mean that you are intrinsically that thing. Rather, when something arises within you, simply observe it first. If someone thinks, right now I'm feeling jealousy, or right now there is jealousy, they will probably feel emotionally manageable. However, if the person identifies with temporary emotions, it means they are thinking, I am jealous. And people hate feeling bad, so they are unlikely to think, I am jealous. Rather, they are more likely to think, that other person is bad, for some reason I made up, or simply because I know it/I feel it. 5. Inability to handle others' disapproval here. People cannot emotionally handle the fact that others dislike them, disagree with them, or disapprove of them. This is the conformist who does not think for themselves and holds 100% socially approved opinions, and probably virtue signals, simply because it makes them feel comfortable. Or it is the submissive partner who always apologizes if the other is upset. Or it is the overly aggressive rebel who decides to reject the entire world before anyone can reject them. The social conformist, the submissive partner, and the overly aggressive rebel might seem like completely different people, but these behaviors could share the same root. The person cannot emotionally handle others' disapproval. Ideally, your self-esteem should be like a stool resting on enough legs so that even if others disapprove of you, you still have enough legs to keep it from crashing to the ground. Or, if your self-esteem can levitate and does not need legs, great, but that is rare. Low self-esteem can lead people to not claim enough space for themselves, or it can spill over into narcissistic overcompensation behaviors. If you cannot handle others' disapproval, you cannot be authentic. 6. You cannot have negative emotions here. People are excessively attached to others not feeling negative emotions. This is the person who refuses to have that necessary but painful conversation because it would hurt the other person in the short term. This is the person who tries to distract or cheer up someone who is sad, or who immediately rushes to solve their problems, instead of simply sitting beside them and letting them feel their emotions. This is the person who believes they are being helpful, but is actually trying to resolve their own emotional discomfort by trying to make the other person stop crying. This is the person who offers unsolicited advice when it is clearly unwelcome, simply because they cannot stand to see the other suffer. This is the therapist who tries to resolve symptoms or teach socially acceptable behaviors, rather than getting to the root of the pain or the root of the problem. This is the person who cannot accept the slow, complex timeline of someone else's recovery, and consequently labels that person's healing process as excessive. Although performative healing exists, it is far more common for people not to dedicate enough time to their own healing process. Healing from trauma can genuinely take a decade or more. 7. You are responsible for my emotions here. People think that someone else, typically their partner, but also parents or employees, is responsible for their emotional well-being, beyond the normal need to be a good partner/parent/employee. This is the person who, when feeling bored or stressed, expects their partner to cheer them up, entertain them, or make them feel better. Or it is the anxious boss who expects their employees to work more than they should have fixed the problem. It is easy to see how these blind spots lead to stereotypes and misunderstandings in relationships. The woman feels unsatisfied/anxious and wants her boyfriend to make her feel better. Blind spot 7. Equals the boyfriend cannot emotionally handle the fact that she is upset. Blind spot 6. He either goes into overdrive to please her and fix every problem, which usually damages the relationship long-term, or he shuts down and numbs himself. Blind spot 1. Equals the woman notices him pulling away, feels even worse emotionally, and interprets this as proof that he is a bad partner. Blind spot 3. The woman only perceives her surface emotions. Blind spot 2. And does not realize that her role in the situation was her initial attitude, that he was supposed to make her happy. She probably just thinks he is avoidant, emotionally unavailable, clams up, etc. Equals the boyfriend is emotionally unable to handle his girlfriend's disapproval. Blind spot 5. Which worsens his fix everything or shut down behavior. Equals the relationship ends, and the now ex-boyfriend convinces himself that this proves he will be alone forever. Blind spot 4. The woman thinks, I was open and communicative, but he was just emotionally unavailable, like so many men. It's his fault. The man thinks, I was the perfect boyfriend, but she is just inherently unhappy and impossible to please, like so many women. It's her fault. Now let's see what happens if one of the partners practices radical self-observation. The woman feels anxious or unsatisfied. She does not immediately point the finger at others. My boyfriend must make me feel better. Or, should I find another boyfriend who makes me happier? Or, we need to take a nice weekend trip to cheer me up. Instead, she might say to her boyfriend, Hey, I'm feeling really anxious and unsatisfied today, and my mind keeps blaming you. But I know that's not fair. I need some time alone to figure out what's going on inside me. Maybe I should start a hobby or do yoga or something. I don't need you to fix anything, but right now, could we just cuddle a bit? The could we just cuddle a bit part also gives him a concrete, achievable task, which typically redirects the boyfriend's mind from fix everything/withdraw mode to do that one thing, and then you'll feel safe mode. Of course, in an ideal world this would not be necessary, but most people, men and women, are not perfect. Alternatively, if the man looks within himself, he understands that while he must be a good partner and do his best, her emotions and happiness are still ultimately her responsibility. He should face his own discomfort with her possible anxiety or dissatisfaction, and not automatically go into fix everything mode or shut down. In this way, he can simply sit with her and say, I'm sorry you're feeling unsatisfied today. That really sucks. So, these were 7 emotional blind spots that people may have, or may temporarily fall into when under stress. They can be corrected. They are not permanent character flaws. Awareness is the first step. In all 7 cases, it is helpful to cultivate a habit of radical self-observation. By stopping to observe what arises within you, and regularly asking yourself what lies beneath the surface, you can dismantle these blind spots, instead of being conditioned by them. In addition to self-observation, it is also helpful to concretely improve your life and meet your needs. When you feel secure and fulfilled externally, you feel less need to react emotionally or resort to emotional survival strategies. That said, even those leading an apparently perfect life can fall into these traps. Solving external world problems is not a substitute for introspection. With all my love, this was your star sister.